Hello and welcome to part 2 of segment 1 of our Grand Pacific Voyage and Adventures on the Pacific Rim. This time we're going to jump over briefly to South Korea before coming back to Japan to visit Kanazawa, Hakodate, and Yokohama, the largest port city and the second largest city in South Korea. A special charm and friendly locals help to lend the city a quirky, offbeat vibe. A lively and livable city, Busan is spacious, playful, and cosmopolitan at the same time. We had 2 shore excursions for the day, and the first would take us to the Temple by the Sea and later on to the Skywalk. Haedong Yeongeungsa is a Buddhist temple tucked into a dramatic cliffside in the northeastern part of Busan. But before you can enjoy the temple, you have to walk the gauntlet of shops, food stalls, and trinkets that line the only way onto the temple grounds. The temple and grounds is home to several smaller shrines and temples, some dedicated to the specific requirements of the parishioners, like this traffic safety prayer pagoda. The temple is perched just above the crumbling rocks and crashing waves of the East Sea. The building of the temple started around 1376, and restoration is a constant battle against the sea. 108 steps descend to the temple proper, with a couple of scenic offshoots available to traverse and enjoy. This beautiful Buddhist temple is busy and is a favorite spot for locals, pilgrims, and tourists alike. Your first clues as to just how touristy it is the parking lots filled with both cars and buses. Some aspects of the temple, like this coin toss, put your coin in a vase and you get your wish, can give it more the flavor of an arcade game than a temple, but overall, the good far outweighed the bad. On our visit there, it was crowded, but not too crowded, with devotees and tourists alike. The main temple grounds house several smaller temples and shrines, with each dedicated to receiving a different type of prayer request. Examples can include safe navigation of the ocean, good luck, traffic safety, prosperity, health, and so on. The temple is dedicated to Gwanseum Bosal, the Bodhisattva of compassion and protector from the vagaries of the sea. One ritual that everyone is invited to participate in is the cleansing of yourself by cleansing the baby Buddha. This is done by pouring water over the head and shoulders of the baby Buddha while saying on the first wash, "May I eliminate all evil thoughts." Second wash, "May I cultivate good deeds." Third wash, "May I help to save all living beings." And regardless of the touristy aspects of the temple, there were several monks going about their daily devotions, whether or not there were supplicants there to pray with them, as well as many supplicants there praying in the various temples. Adequate time to explore the temple and the grounds before heading back to our parking spot and our bus and heading off to our next stop, the Busan Skywalk. Honestly, while the temple was a good stop, I could have given the Busan Skywalk a miss. The Skywalk is one of those crazy glass-floored things that in this case was cantilevered out over the top of the ocean and the rocks below. You had to wear these little booty things, but thousands of boots before had taken their toll on the glass, and it only gave the impression of age rather than a sense of danger or excitement. With that, we headed back to the ship for lunch and to prepare for our next excursion, Busan at night. So late in the afternoon, we headed out for Busan at night. First stop was the Korean cuisine restaurant on the 7th floor, where we would sample what was billed as Korean drinking food and the local rice beer. Here we once again had the ubiquitous Korean seafood pancakes, very good by the way, and the milky, smooth, but essentially tasteless 3.5% alcohol by volume local favorite, the rice beer. A short ride later, and our next stop was a local street market that featured a host of food stalls, restaurants, bars, liquor stores, and knick-knack stands, all accompanied by a veritable tide of people and a cacophony of background noise. If you kept your eyes peeled, you could occasionally sample a fiery hot bibimbap or ice cream of every description from the street food vendors on either side as you wandered down the street. My favorite thing was checking out the many tanks of live eels and the very strange beltfish displayed and available for the choosing and your next meal. Also spotted was the occasional drunk monkey hanging out in front of the liquor store, along with steamed buns and food of every description. Not to be cruel, but I'm pretty sure I know where these fellas are soon headed. Soon enough, it was time to leave the market and head on to our next stop. Right across the street from the famous Hyundai Beach stands Hyundai LCT, the Sharp Towers. Our goal was the 100th floor Busan X the Sky Observatory. This 3-story observatory, opened in July of 2020, is complete with shops, a restaurant, cafes, an art gallery, and the world's highest Starbucks located on the 101st floor. The sun had completed its fall behind the mountains, and the views were spectacular. Unfortunately, the outside observatory was closed due to high winds, but we had to amuse ourselves somehow.
Why did you look at each other? No?
And there's that world's highest Starbucks on the 101st floor. We had time to enjoy a sort of offbeat light show where images were projected on the windows of the 99th floor. It was about a 20-minute show, but here's a brief sample. Descending from the heights of X the Sky, we made our way on foot a short distance to Don Blanc, our dinner venue for the night. Don Blanc is a popular Korean barbecue restaurant where we would enjoy barbecue pork belly and all the fixins. A little fatter and a little happier, we made it back just in time to enjoy a local troupe of dancers and musicians performing in the Venetian Show Lounge. So as the strains of Korean music died out and our Korean performers left the ship, we began our journey towards Kanazawa. But before Kanazawa, another day at sea. And this time we had a special luncheon for the Grand Pacific passengers. The tall fellow in the foreground is our captain, and just a few of our fellow 51 Grand Voyagers. We started the festivities with some cocktails and hors d'oeuvres and moved on to our lunch. And here is a sampling of some of the things we were served for our special luncheon. And the rest of the day we just kicked around the ship, just doing those normal day at sea sort of things. And getting ready for one of my favorite cities, Kanazawa, Japan. This would be our third visit to Kanazawa as a couple and my fourth, but it was also our first time visit as a cruise passenger. We received a very warm welcome in Kanazawa. Kanazawa has a population of about 460,000 people and is the capital of the Ishikawa Prefecture. Many of the old districts in Kanazawa still exist and are in great shape. In the past, Kanazawa once rivaled Kyoto and Edo as a town rich in cultural achievements. Our excursion was supposed to take us to Omichio Market, but it was closed on the day of our visit, so the Oyama Jinji Shinto Shrine was added to the list of stops. But our first stop would be at a wagashi making class. Wagashi is a traditional Japanese pastry or sweet, normally made from rice flour, sugar, and sweet beans. We were handed some ingredients and told we would be making the wagashi this day. After some brief instruction from a master wagashi maker, I gave it my best try, and this is what I came up with. This is what my wife came up with. And in the hands of a wagashi master artist, it should look more like this. Regardless, if you are disappointed in your efforts, you can just go downstairs and get all kinds of different desserts and the traditional handicrafts from Kanazawa, Japan, such as lacquerware, pottery, and items decorated with a delicate gold leaf. But as much as I enjoyed our visit here, it took time away from what I really wanted to revisit was Kinrokian Gardens. Kinrokyuin Gardens are classified as one of Japan's 3 most beautiful landscape gardens and one of the most top 10 beautiful gardens in the world. The tea house dates back to 1774 and was in use during my last visit, but is no longer apparently open. The 11.4 hectare gardens are filled with water features and stunning landscaping. The grounds used to be the outer garden of Kanazawa Castle and were constructed by the ruling Maeda family over a period of nearly 2 centuries. They were opened to the public in 1871. I'm going to shut up now and let you enjoy some of the Kinrokyuin Garden scenery. Unfortunately, we overstayed at the pastry class and left us with only about 45 minutes to enjoy the gardens, which should have taken about 3 hours to fully explore. So with that in mind, we left Kinrokyuin Gardens and made our way back to the motor coach. Walking through the small shopping district, we found you could get some gold leaf decorated ice cream. It's edible. And saw that you could attend a geisha show presented entirely in English. We also walked by the outside of the Kanazawa Castle, which would have been nice to visit, but time did not allow. The castle itself is currently under reconstruction after burning down in 1602, 1631, 1759, and 1881. Our final stop of the day was the Oyama Jinja Shinto Shrine. The shrine is dedicated to Maeda Toishi, the first lord of the powerful local Maeda clan. The shrine was constructed in 1599 by Toishi's successor, Maeda Toshinaga. It was originally built on Mount Yutatsu and later moved to its present location. The shrine and the grounds are quite beautiful and well worth a visit if you happen to be in Kanazawa. We hopped aboard the bus for the short ride back to the Silver Muse. We opted for the early show with guest headliner Nathan Samuelson. Mr. Samuelson, an extraordinary horn player, connected with his audience by coming right out to your table and giving us a very personalized performance. after dinner, we headed upstairs to the Panorama Lounge for the Rock the Boat performance by the ship's singers and dancers. And after enjoying the show, we headed downstairs to our suite to get ready for another day at sea. Today's day at sea is brought to you by, Formal Night. Now seems to be a pretty good time to talk about what Silversea considers formal optional. For ladies, an evening gown or cocktail dresses. For the gentlemen, it's tuxedos, dinner jackets, or dark suits and tie. You can also adhere to the elegant casual dress code, but a jacket is still required for gentlemen in all the indoor spaces. And no jeans, no shorts, no sneakers or flip-flop type footwear after 6 p.m. in the indoor venues. Well, time to retire for the evening and get ready for our next day, which would be in Hakodate, Japan. At the southern tip of the northern island of Hokkaido and nestled below Hakodate-jima, or Mount Hakodate, lies the city of Hakodate. Hakodate was one of the first ports to open Japan to the world in 1859 and currently has a population of about 250,000. For our excursion this day, we would go to Onuma National Park, about a 45-minute bus ride from Hakodate. Arriving at the park, we would take 2 walking trails, one called Island Hopping Trail and the other called the Small Lake Walking Trail. So let's get started on the first part of our journey, which is the Island Hopping Trail. This is another spot where I'm going to pretty much shut up and let you enjoy Onuma National Park. Options are available for touring the lake, like swan boats, or one of the motorized tour boats that you may have saw earlier. There are also campgrounds and these little geodesic domes available for short stays as well. And although we could have easily walked it, It was a short jaunt by bus to the next trailhead, the Small Lake Walking Trail. Making our way past the Showaji Buddhist temple, we began our walk along the trail. And this is another case where I'm pretty much going to get out of the way here and let you enjoy the natural scenery of Onuma National Park. As we closed our trail loop, it was time to return to the Silver Muse. Once back, we grabbed a quick lunch and headed off the ship once more for a shuttle ride into the heart of Hakodate. 15 minutes later, and we were walking around and enjoying downtown Hakodate. We stumbled into this fascinating little shopping area full of restaurants and bars once you get inside. Nothing was truly open at this point, as it was still early in the day and not quite 4 o'clock. But nonetheless, it was interesting to walk inside and see the variety of the tiny restaurants, shops, and bars loaded into this relatively small space. We walked about the rainy streets for a while, entered the train station and looked around, and decided it was time to go on back to the ship. Once back on board, we changed clothes for dinner, headed to Dolce Vita for a before-dinner drink, and then headed off to Indochine for an early dinner. The next day was another day at sea, as we were en route to Yokohama, both the end of this segment and the beginning of next. Thank you very much for watching. Please do us a solid and like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be kept up to date on new videos dropping. There is a lot more to come in our massive 71-day journey, so stay tuned for more as segment 2, part 1 is coming up, Yokohama to Singapore. Check out some of our other videos, and as always, safe journeys from T's Cruise and Travel Muse.